Hi everyone, Kevin Clark with Power Engineering here, and I'm pleased to be joined by Terry Schoenborn, who is the Senior Vice President for O&M at EthosEnergy, which offers end-to-end operations and maintenance services for power generation facilities. Terry, I want to start at a broad level. How has operations and maintenance for natural gas-fired plants evolved, especially recently, and how is it affecting EthosEnergy's business?
Yeah, Kevin, thank you for having me. Yeah, gas turbine. It's kind of interesting because I've been in the industry quite some time. So in the late '90s, early 2000s, we had the gas bubble where there was hundreds of gas turbines being installed in that, and that kind of has slowed. And then renewables have kind of taken place. So new greenfield gas turbines going in has not been what it was. But I will say right now, with the demand of electricity coming up through artificial intelligence and data centers and all those things, we're starting to see a little bit of uptick. As far as Ethos, the majority of our fleet is all gas turbines. So we have done some new greenfields in the last couple of years, but a lot of it's been some technologies that are a little bit older. So for us, there was probably the last 10 years there hasn't been as many new greenfield sites going in, but we're starting to see some of the activity pick up.
With that activity picking up, does that affect the operations and maintenance work in any way for you all? And if so, how?
Um, yes, I mean, any new plant requires staffing. So they're recruiting and getting the talent to do that, and then setting up all the infrastructure to get ready to take that new plant online. So and typically we start anywhere from 12 to 18 months in advance to hiring our facility manager and then hiring the rest of the staff and then working with the EPC contractor and the developer such there's a good turnover. So new greenfield site is quite a lot of you're almost building it. You are literally building it from scratch and then developing procedures and building maintenance plans and all those things. So it's that's how we kind of get ready for it. Yeah.
In the last few months, you launched your remote operations center based in Houston. So tell me a little about the origins of this, why it's necessary, and how is that helping EthosEnergy stay competitive in O&M?
Obviously, with the energy transition, a lot of renewables, and coming into the market, we saw that peaking plants were going to play a more pivotal role than maybe they had in the past, because as the wind stops and the sun doesn't shine, something has to replace that power. For us, it was a couple things. Our competitors had already kind of had some solution for this, and we didn't. So we felt like it was something we need to have to play in this market. And so we developed the center and now can remotely operate, power plants, peaking plants from our center, as well as we've got over 80 power plants that we monitor for monitoring diagnostics worldwide. So it's now a 24/7 center, and it's been right now it's generated discussions with customers that we would not have had we not had the center.
What kind of discussions are you having with customers? Because in our recent conversation, you talked about, customers are coming to the realization that the energy transition may be slower than expected because of the factors that we previously talked about. So what are you hearing from them, and how are you helping customers navigate that transition?
Yeah, we've there's been several customers and even countries and whatnot have said they want to be zero carbon by a certain date, 2030, 2035, and so. As we work with them, they put together a roadmap to get to that target. And what we're finding is that in some cases, that roadmap slipping to the right. So what that means for us and how we're working with them is saying, okay, well, let's really sit down and talk about what maintenance that you need to have to make sure you maintain the same level of reliability. But obviously, if you may be shutting down a plant or repurposing it, you don't want to throw a whole lot of money at something you're not going to maybe utilize. So we're having those, maintenance strategy, reliability discussions, and then obviously, there's people involved, right? If we want to retain those people up until that asset may, not be available or do something else, or we may want to repurpose them. So we're kind of having those discussions with our customers as well.
You mentioned gas plants more increasingly being used in peaking capacity to balance the grid. How is Ethos Energy adapting its O&M services to meet that needs? Are there any associated challenges with how, the more frequent turning on and off, and how is that affecting the way assets need to be maintained?
Yeah, I think right now there's a lot of peaking plants that are fully staffed. I ran a peaking plant. We had a staff there 24/7, whether it was running or not, and so it kind of has like a fire department analysis, right? So where there's people there and you're waiting for the fire. So I think what we're trying to do with our performance center is how do we make it much more with technology. You can put cameras and everything else where you can almost make it fully staffed, but you don't need to incur that particular cost. So either manned or unmanned or very thinly staffed power plants for the capacity factors of 5% or left that these plants are running. Remote operations is a good solution for the reliability of that asset and the start and stop of it as well. So that's kind of one of the things we're looking at into the market.
I'm glad you brought up technologies. What are some of the emerging technologies in predictive maintenance maybe that Ethos Energy is considering or has implemented?
Yeah, we've been looking at wireless vibration stuff. I mean, trying to use a lot of wireless type of devices. I would say we haven't implemented them yet, but we're exploring that. We're in our performance center. We have more of an anomaly detection type of technologies where there's trends, and if the trend deviates from that, that's something maybe not be right. But we're looking at other things there as well. Obviously, with artificial intelligence, that's bringing a whole new array of analytics and diagnostics available, and we're exploring obviously some of that, how that can bring even more, predicting things that will fail before they actually fail, right?
Another theme we discussed, Terry, is that there is more M&A activity with plants changing hands more often. Why do you think that's happening?
Yeah, it's sometimes I say follow the money. There's been a lot of, with the Infrastructure Reduction Act, there's been a lot of money flowing into that area. And I think that, some of the, we're seeing a lot of, just seeing a lot of developing and divesting some of the renewables. But I think that customers in the marketplace is looking for a reliable capacity right now. And so I think there's just like what they want to hold on, what they want their assets to be. Kind of seeing a resurgence in interest in gas. And so just a change, there's a lot of activity in the ERCOT market right now, given some of the growth that they're seeing. So we have, private equity customers. Sometimes they're holding things a little longer. You normally have some flippers. Let's get in, let's optimize it, and let's resell it. We're finding is that some are holding onto it a little longer, but there are some that are still optimize the asset and put it back up for sale. So what's driving the M&A activity? I just think it's a dynamic market right now, and there's opportunities for investors to take advantage of. Yeah.
You talked about earlier when Ethos Energy takes over the O&M of a facility, there are inherent challenges in terms of ramping up your own resources when doing this. So can you share more insights on that process, and how does Ethos Energy have to adapt its strategy when plants change ownership frequently?
Yeah. So, when any of the operators take over a new plant, typically there's existing employees there, and obviously they have concerns like, okay, do I have a job? If so, how much am I going to get paid and all that? So our first action is to kind of calm the waters and bring down the temperature and just, pretty much take over the existing staff of the plant. We may have to make some changes from time to time, but for the most part, go in and we assess the plant. And some plants, we take over or run extremely well. Some not so much and have to be improved to meet either our standards of excellence or our profile. And so we may have to have more resources, spend time at that plant to get it up to speed or the level that our customers expect as well. So we'll bring to bear resources on that asset as needed, depending on the health of that asset or the condition of that asset. So.
You said that some plants are, in better shape than others. Some are a little more worse for wear. Is that a trend? Is there any trend in any direction recently in terms of the conditions of plants when you take over their O&M? What are you seeing, and what might be the factors there?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're in the process of taking over a portfolio of some plants, and some are very well same customer, shall we say, or same transition, and some plants are very well maintained and some not. So it's even gets down to a plant level, right? And it could be just as simple as if the customer knew they were selling the asset, they're probably maybe not going to invest as much into it, so it just gets into a disrepair, and then we come in and with a new owner and new customer that they bought the asset, they may want to invest in it. So I would say there's a common theme amongst things, but it's just probably where that plant is in its life cycle, how much our customers think they can extract out of it, what the life cycle is, and how much money they want to put into it.
Besides the ones discussed, Terry, are there any other significant trends in O&M you think are worth noting? And do you have any predictions for the near future?
Yeah, no, the trends we're seeing is that it's always really getting the skilled workforce of people who want to, get into this line of work, right? So I think as more plants and stuff come in, that's always going to be the case. Trends we're seeing, obviously, I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of data centers going in that's fueling this artificial intelligence. There's projections out there that by 2030, 9% of the U.S. electricity demand will come from that. So as that demand goes up, I think that there'll be more demand for reliable power, probably most likely, natural gas stuff. Another interesting trend I see, just this week, I think the Department of Energy is going to, fund or provide some funding to the nuclear industry, about $900 million. So with small modular reactors and all of that, I have no real predictions, but, I could see where nuclear being clean, so to speak, as well as, new designs in these small reactors that I don't think it's any time soon in 5 years, but I could see in 10 years nuclear being a play, in the markets. And, even before this interview, I was interested because right now worldwide, there's 60 new nuclear plants being constructed, worldwide. None of them are in the United States. There's a lot in Asia and China right now. So I think the rest of the world sees some of that. And I think as we look at different forms of small modular reactors, it'll come back in the U.S. in that form.
Terry, it was great having you, and we appreciate all of the insights today. Thank you for your time.
Kevin, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.